Providence Profiles. When Jesus was born.
When Jesus was born, it's happy to welcome Melchior, one of the three kings that was there in Bethlehem that night. Tell us what you remember.
My story starts many, many years ago when I was a little child. I've always loved to learn and study, but the thing that amazed me the most was the stars. I spent night after night after night studying the stars. I studied the star charts. I got to the point where I could close my eyes and I could point at the stars in the sky and name them without even looking at them. I knew all the constellations. I got so good at it that I made a good living from it. The king would use me. He would ask for my opinion, my advice for going into new lands or for fighting battles. People would come to me and ask me when they needed to plant their crops. But I made a good living looking at the stars. One night I was laying on my back looking up at the sky, and I noticed a new star. A star that I'd never seen before. I watched it as it traveled to the west. It didn't go in an orbit like the other stars. It was very strange. The next day I thought that I had just imagined it. So the next night I went outside, laid on my back. There the star was again, straight above me. And then it would travel to the left, not in a normal orbit. I watched this star for several days in amazement. I knew it had to be something special. So I go to my fellow astronomers, some people call us magi, and I asked them if they had seen the star. And sure enough, they had. We knew that it was something special. We came to the conclusion that it represented a king, the birth of a king in the West. We decided that we had to go see it. It's just like that star was calling us, come and see, that it was very special. So we made preparations. We knew that we had to take gifts since it was a king. So I took some gold, and I think one of my other friends, he took some myrrh, and the other one took some frankincense, and we headed off on the journey. It was a difficult journey. I had no idea it would be so hard. We could only travel by night because we couldn't see the star during the day. And when we would try to travel by day, we would get lost. We would encounter dangerous animals. We would encounter cold temperature. At times, we would encounter strangers on the trail, and they would ask us where we were going, and we would tell them our story, and they would mock and make fun of us. And so what can that king do for you? Why don't you go back home to your family and serve your king? I have to tell you, we got very discouraged. We finally made it to Israel. Israel was under Roman rule. They had appointed a king. His name was Herod. He was called King of the Jews. So we just knew that it had to be his baby that had been born. So we get to Jerusalem. We go to Herod's palace. Herod agrees to see us. We introduce ourselves, and we tell him while we're there that we're here to see the King of the Jews, the little baby that's been born. Oh, he gets so upset. He jumps up and he starts pacing around. He's so disturbed, and we don't know what to think. We think our life's in danger. Then he calls in the religious leaders and the high priests, and he says, "What does the scroll say about the birth of the Messiah? Where will it be?" They don't even have to go get the scrolls because they know that Micah, 700 years ago, predicted that the Savior would be born in Bethlehem. So we knew that the baby was in Bethlehem. Privately, he took me off to the side. He wanted to know about when I saw the star. When did the star first appear to me? He became very agitated and started screaming. And I told him about when the star appeared. So he got his charts out and was looking. And he said, go, you all go, find the baby and worship. And then come back and tell me so that I may go also and worship. So we gather our stuff. We get to the edge of Jerusalem, and then the star appears again. We were so relieved. Bethlehem was only 5 miles away. So we traveled to Bethlehem, and the star stops right over this little house. And I say, this can't be the house. This can't be the house of the baby that's born King of the Jews. It was just an ordinary house, no banners, no royalty, no money. It was poor. But when we go in, and I lay eyes on the little child, he has a radiance about him that was brighter than that star that we followed. We talked to Mary, his mother, and she tells us about the birth and the conception. And then we talked to Joseph, and Joseph tells us about the shepherd boy that come to visit and the angels. And we asked him, what is the boy's name? And he said, Jesus, for he will take away the sins of people. We bowed down right there in front of the little boy, and we laid our gifts at his feet. That night, while we were sleeping, I had a dream. And the dream said that Herod meant to do harm to the little boy. So we decided to leave with a different route and not go through Jerusalem and skip Herod. I'll never forget that night.
Thank you, Melchior. Join us next week on our final segment of When Jesus Was Born, when we'll have Joseph and Mary, and you don't want to miss this.